Let's begin. Today is June 6, 2024, and we're doing the Daily Turing Machine Puzzle. Today's puzzle uses the following 5 criteria cards: 8, 11, 18, 19, and 21, and uses the blue verification cards. The code above is your way to be able to go to turingmachine.info and search for today's puzzle using that code. Let's go solve. So in the grid above, we've got our 5 criteria cards. On the top row, we've got criteria card A, criteria card B, and criteria card C. On the bottom row, we've got criteria card D and criteria card E. So criteria card A looks at the 3 digits in our solution and will let us know how many ones we should have. Should there be no ones? Is there a single one? Perhaps 2? Maybe even all 3 are ones. Criteria card B looks at the first 2 digits, triangle and square, and compares them. Should the triangle value be less than square? Should they be equal? Or should the triangle value be greater than square? Criteria card C will take each of the 3 digits, triangle, square, and circle, add them together, and will let us know whether the sum should be an even quantity or an odd quantity. Criteria card D looks at the first 2 digits, again triangle and square, adds them together, and will let us know if the sum is less than 6, potentially equal to 6, or perhaps even it could be greater than 6. And finally, criteria card E will let us know something about the 3-digit code, whether there is a pair of digits, repeating digit, as in the example 131, or alternatively, there is no pair, which could be 2 scenarios. It could be one where all 3 digits are distinct, no repetitions, as in 134, or a single digit repeated 3 times. So in both cases, neither has a pair of digits. And so remember, our objective is to find this unique 3-digit code that abides by all these criteria cards. And so we are going to start off with our proposal of 314. And the first thing I'd like to test is criteria card C. I want to see if the sum of the 3 digits is an even or an odd quantity. So let's go ahead and test C. Okay, so the Turing Machine approves of my proposal. If I do add up the digits, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8. The Turing Machine approves that the sum should be an even quantity. So that's what I'm going to put down for my notes in section C, that the sum of triangle plus square and circle should be an even quantity. And so what that lets us know is the following. So there are actually a couple of scenarios where that is true. If you have you could have either all of them be even, right? If you have 3 evens and you add them all together, you could have, you will have an even sum. And the other case is where if you have 2 odd values, not necessarily equal, but as long as they're 2 odd values, like say 3 and 5. Well, if you add 3 and 5 together, you get an even. So that's true of any 2 odd values. If you add them together, you'll get an even. And then because you want the overall sum to remain even, you have to have a single even. Okay, but potentially you could have a pair, and that's exactly what criteria E can check, whether there's a pair or not. So let's go ahead and test criteria card E. Okay, so the Turing Machine does not approve of my proposal. I do have 314. Notice that I have all unique values, so that's under the category of not a pair, and it's invalid. So yes, indeed, there is a pair of digits. So let's go ahead and put that in our notes for section E, that there is a pair of digits. And remember that you have to have at least one even. So the pair could either be both odd or both even, but you still need that lone even digit. So there is a pair of digits, and at least, we'll say at least one even. Okay, so again, they could all be even, or you have two odds and an even. Okay, so what else do we have? We do have criteria card A that will look and tell us that the number of ones. So obviously you can't have all three be ones, because you know you need to have at least one even, but you could have two ones. But and you could have a single one. Again, they don't. Well, actually, now that we do know they are paired up, so you can't have just a single one. So it's not like a single one and say a 3 or a 5. They'd have to be paired up. So either there are no ones or two ones. So that could be helpful, since I do have the single one. Then we can compare triangle and square. But I think to kind of help us out, I think I'm going to do criteria card D. Maybe that'll help us kind of zero in on what section of the table here are we going to be focusing on. So let's go ahead and test criteria card D. Okay, so again, the Turing Machine approves of my proposal. Notice that since we are talking about the sum of the first two digits, if I add 3 and 1, that is 4. So what the Turing Machine is telling me is that the sum should be less than 6. So let's go ahead and put our note that in our notes for section D, that triangle plus square is less than 6. Okay, so what can we say about the digits whose sum is less than 6? Well, in this case, that means that neither of them could be a 5, because if you ever add 5 to a minimum of 1, well, that's already 6 or greater. So we know we can exclude 5s. Okay, let's see. And since we do have a pair, that actually means that we can also exclude circle from being 5, right? Again, it's not that you could have two different odds. They'd have to be paired up. So that means that, yeah, there shouldn't be a 5 at all. Okay, so that's great. Let's see, what else? Again, we don't know if you have all evens or some combination of odds and evens. And that does it for this turn, since we do have we did complete our 3 tests. Now we're going into the phase where we're going to talk through and strategize on how to come up with a good second proposal. So we haven't tested criteria card A, again, having to do with the ones. Remember, it's either 0 ones or 2 ones. And it is helpful if you consider the fact that the sum has to be less than 6. And then, of course, you're comparing the first 2 digits. Okay, so as far as, let's talk about that possibility where if you have 2 ones. So obviously 1 plus 1, the sum is less than 6. And so potentially we'd be saying, they're equal. Okay? And so we know that circle would have to be even. But I don't see anything in our criteria cards to be able to choose between 2 and 4. There just isn't anything there. So I don't think it's going to be 1, 1 where it's the same. Of course, it can't be 3, 3, or 4, 4, because those already are going to be sums that are 6 or greater. So the only possibility where it'd be equal would be 2, 2, and so that would force the circle to be 4. Okay, so I think that's rather promising. 2, 2, and then 4 forces that. Otherwise, then we have, if they're not equal, so and I believe that's the only possibility where they're all even. Okay, so they're all even and the first two are equal. So the other alternative is if you have a positive, I'm sorry, not a positive, an odd and an even in some order between triangle and square, and then circle would have to be the other odd. So either 1 or 3. Okay, so if that were the case, there are a lot of possibilities where the sum is less than 6. You know, everything works. 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 1 and 4. I mean, just way too many possibilities to exclude. So I'm thinking, I think the 2, 2, 4 seems to be the best alternative. Again, there are way too many possibilities for the other one. So yeah, so let's go ahead and test 2, 2, 4. Okay, so the first thing, yeah, let's go ahead and test whether they're equal or not. So let's do B. Okay, so the Turing machine does not approve that they are equal. Okay, so it's not 2, 2, 4 then. Because again, I don't think it's going to be 1, 1. Okay, well, they're not equal, so let's go ahead and put in our notes that triangle is either less than or greater than square. So let's go ahead and do that. So that was for B. So we know triangle is either less than or greater than square. Okay. So let's see. So what happens? So that's the case where they're not equal. So we do have an odd and an even. So it looks like then circle is being forced to be the other odd. Is that correct? Can we say that? So there's no other case where they're equal. Can you say that? 4. Yeah, so it's not the case where they're all even. So it can't be like, yeah, not 2, 2, or even 4, 2. Well, there's a pair. Yeah. So it's got to be 1 odd and 1 even. And so that means that circle has to be, so I'm deducing that circle has to be an odd to match up with the other odd. Okay, so where can I put that? So I'm going to put it down here. So I'm going to deduce that circle has to be odd. Is odd. Okay, so let me then cross out the 2 and the 4. Okay, so that means that the other odd is either they're going to be 2 1s or 2 3s, and there's going to be a 2. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and test criteria card A and see if we have 1s or not. So A. Okay, so if you look at my proposal, I have no ones, so that means that the Turing Machine approves of that. So there are no ones. So let's put that in our notes. There are no ones. Okay, so let's go ahead and cross out all the ones then. Okay, so there are no ones, so, oh, and I believe because of criteria card D, I don't think there could be any 4s, because 4 plus 2 or 3 is already greater than or equal to 6. Oh, that's very interesting. So without them telling us, that just happened. Interesting. Okay, so no 4s. Okay, so that means that it is a 3. So we do have a 3 for circle. So that means that excuse me, that triangle or square are 2 or 3, and basically criteria card B is going to tell us that. And unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to deduce that. So we are going to have to go to a third round. That is quite unfortunate. All right, so what will be, so it's either going to be 233 or 323. So I'm going to go ahead and say 233. Let's see what happens there. All right, so, and we are going to test criteria card B. Yeah, that's the one that compares it. Okay, so it does approve of that, and if you notice between triangle and square, our triangle is less than square. So let's go ahead and cross out the greater than symbol. So indeed, triangle is less than square, so, and that is the correct answer. So let me go ahead and cross out the 3 in triangle, and then cross out the 2 for square. And so it looks like our solution is 233. So let's go ahead. All right, so let's just quickly review. Yeah, there are no ones. Triangle, the first digit is less than the second. That's correct. The sum is even. Yes. The first 2 sum up to less than 6. They do. There is a pair, and we deduce that the circle is odd. Okay, so that looks like we should get the correct answer, though I am concerned about the Turing machine. All right, so so what was it? 233, right? Yeah, 233. Okay, so let's go ahead and verify. 233. Okay, yeah, so we got it. But again, did we beat the Turing machine? I am not so sure. With a 5 criteria puzzle going to 3 rounds, not promising. All right, so the first round we did C, D, E, and the first 2 were correct. And then we did A and B. Okay, so C, D, E in the first round. C, D, E, and E was incorrect. Second round, A was correct, but B was incorrect. And that made us have to test B again in the third round. Okay, well, okay, so yeah, we did equal the number of questions, but as a sort of tiebreaker, the Turing machine did it in only 2 rounds. We did it in 3. So I don't know. I don't know if I could have chosen maybe a different set of criteria cards to test in the first turn to allow us to do it. Obviously, you know, hindsight is 2020. Had I tested criteria card B first, maybe we could have gotten a different result, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And trying to think of other things to consider for future gameplay. Could I have done something else? Well, if you noticed anything, please do add something to the comments. Let me know if I missed something, or strategy-wise, what should I have done differently in your opinion? I definitely would like to hear from you. But if you did like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss out on any future videos, please make sure to click on subscribe to be notified of any future videos. Well, this was still an enjoyable puzzle. I think even though we didn't beat the Turing Machine, it's going to happen. Sometimes it's just not going to be in the cards. But I think we still had some interesting moments in gameplay, some revelations. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I sure did. And until next time, have a great one.